Hi, very good evening to you all from Pretoria. Goeiemiddag aan almal en baie welkom. Please remember to press the like button, share on WhatsApp, Facebook, and Twitter, and press the subscribe button, and also press the notification button for our latest videos. So, why the ongoing videos? Well, as I've said before, we have different opinions. People think this way and people think that way. But at the end of the day, the message must go out. And I've got to get your thinking cap on so you can start seeing what's actually going on in the country. As we well know, the mainstream media is controlled for their own personal results. So the YouTube option of social media is the best way of getting the message out to you all. All right, if you can remember well, the previous video we spoke about that we are not wanted. Now, you can look at this thing from different avenues, but the reality is we're not wanted. And we're going to go into a bit more detail shortly. So, what I'm going to talk to you today is about our constitution, which appears strongly to be by design a lie. And you'll see why I say this. Okay, a bit of background and orientation towards today's topic. And the route I'm going to take is through the Organization of the African Union, or as they call it today, the African Union, through to Zimbabwe, and then, of course, ending in South Africa. So that's the avenue I'm going to take. The organizational or the Organization of the African Union, which they called themselves back then, and today we call them the African Union. And we'll look at this whole background, and you'll see where we are going. All right, so four things I'm going to cover is the African Union policy, their purpose, looking at Zimbabwe and then moving to South Africa. Two, again, our judicial system, the election system that we had last week in Sandton. Thirdly, the ruling political corruption that's controlling the various intelligence heads, defense, and the police. And then in closing, I'm going to talk about the minority groups, that's being us. Right. If we look at the Organization of the African Union, they and their purpose, they were established in 1963 until July of 2002. And this was called the Organization of African Union. After July of 2002, it was called the African Union onwards. Just like Europe has the EU, European Union, Africa has got the AU, which is called the African Union. Now, the African Union consists of 55 member states, of which the Republic of Zimbabwe and the Republic of South Africa are part of. So let's look at the African Union purpose and their policy, their mandate, their constitution. Their constitution and mandate is to promote unity and solidarity of all the African states. Let's look at their main objectives. Their main objectives were to rid the continent of the remaining vintages of colonialism and apartheid, to promote unity and solidarity among African states, to coordinate and intensify cooperation for development, to safeguard the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the member states, and to promote international cooperation. But this is what I want to talk to you about, is one of their objectives is to eradicate all forms of colonialism from Africa. Now, if you zoom in on this, we're talking about white monopoly capital, we're talking about white-owned farms, white universities, white histories, cities and names and streets, all the stuff, and statues, all the stuff that you're aware of. That's what stands in their mission. I'm going to read that again. Eradicate all forms of colonialism from Africa. Further, one of the mandates missions for the African Union is to promote international cooperation, but also the Declaration of Human Rights, to promote human rights. Now, we all well know that this is not happening in Zimbabwe and it's not happening in South Africa. So, what's interesting here is that will the EU, European Union, have a statement like eradicate all forms of Africanism from Europe or America, or Australia or Canada? No, that would be seen as racist. The question we need to ask ourselves with our thinking cap is, why is it one of their mission statements on the African Union? All right, listen to this further. Very interesting. The question here again is the Rainbow Nation building policy. Can we see this within the African Union constitution and policy for all cultures and religion? Of course not. Is it not here the origin of racism at its best, in removing our heritages and histories, as we've seen of late in South Africa and completely in Zimbabwe? But in summary, here with the African Union, they have a declaration saying to eradicate all forms of colonialism from Africa. It's there. Let's look at Zimbabwe. The Republic of Zimbabwe joined the OAU, the Organization of African Union, in June of 1980. They also, the African Union, appointed President Robert Mugabe as chair in 2015, where many human rights violations are on record. As we all know what happened in the early 1980s. So how can this be? The African Union having this mandate of human rights and eradicating colonialism is exactly what happened in Zimbabwe. Right, so the Zimbabwe people, do they have human rights today? Do they have human rights since 1980? No, we all know that. That's why they've come to work here in South Africa, looking for a better life and a better job. So the question again here in Zimbabwe is, the Zimbabwean constitution for all cultures and histories and nation building is non-existent. Let's come to South Africa. South Africa joined the African Union in June of 1994. And what's interesting is, during the drafting of our constitution by our leaders back then, and we know who they are, the ANC ruling party joined the African Union in that same period of 1994, where there is now a contradiction in our constitution and what the African Union declares. We know that the African Union appointed Cyril Ramaphosa as president or chair in February of 2020 for the year cycle 2021. Looking here, the human rights violations in South Africa, we're all aware of. Are there many human rights violations? Yes, in many forms. We've mentioned previously in videos in the BE structures, farm murders, the removal of our histories, and of course various business practice structures. Our city names have changed, all by the ruling political elite, the ANC, the EFF, and the BLF. If we look at our judicial election system last week in Sandton, let's have a look at the selections and appointments of our Chief Justice. Who was it done by? Various role players, but who was involved? It was the Malemas and, of course, Zuma's lawyer, Advocate Dali Mpofu. So this is done by design. So they plant the seed in order to manipulate the legal process going forward into the future. The question we have to ask ourselves in this judicial system and nomination of last week is there democracy here? No. And it's by design and planned to keep the control. Is the execution of the African Union constitution policy of eradicate all forms of colonialism from Africa seen here? Yes, because there's no white judges up for nomination. There's no Indian judges or colored judges up for nomination. Okay, let's look at the political parties' appointing of ministers and of course the various heads of intelligence, defense, and police. See, here we have a problem because the ruling party has the right to appoint ministers. But the problem here is the intelligence heads, defense heads, and police heads or chiefs are appointed by the ruling party. So we all know that all ranking soldiers and ranking policemen are supposed to be apolitical, meaning they don't take sides. But if they're reporting to the heads of their respective departments who are politically appointed, it speaks for itself, then it is meaningless. So it's all hogwash. So if we look again at the July 2021 riots of last year, 300 lives were lost simply because the heads of intelligence, the heads of the defense, and the heads of the police are politically appointed, meaning that all those arms are useless. The intelligence arm, the police arm, and the defense arm is useless. Guys can't do anything. They're not apolitical, in other words. So there's a contradiction in our structures, in the makeup of our democracy, and of course in the Constitution, as already mentioned. So I've mentioned here is, again, by design, the appointments of our soldiers and our policemen being apolitical. It's not the case. It's nonsense, and it's totally flawed. Right, let's go to the summary and closure, and that is us as the minority groups. And I've said earlier we're not wanted, but let's look at this. The African Union is against us and our histories. I've already discussed that. It's in the Constitution, and South Africa is part of their membership. We are actually damned since 1994 because there was double standards, double agendas by all those role players. And we know who they are, which includes Cyril Ramaphosa, President Cyril Ramaphosa. Zimbabwe is a perfect role model of what lies ahead for South Africa. And the thing is, we need to ask ourselves, where is our leaders who put the Constitution together in 1994? Where are they today? Why are they not making a noise? Why are they not defending the Constitution? And the reason for that is back in 1994, when this thing was put together, the ANC ruling party also became a member of the African Union. So it makes this whole process wishy-washy. Then, of course, South Africa is destroyed by design. And that is why I'm calling our Constitution a lie. Because there's two constitutions. There's one African Union, and there's one for the South African model, and they're in total contradiction. And we can see the end result. Whatever the African Union has said by eradicating all forms of colonialism, we see it. We see it exactly rolling out as today. So, why do the rogue politicians continue to walk free? That's because our judicial system and judges are interviewed by the Malemas and the Zuma lawyers, as you've seen. And this is all by design, to keep the control. Why don't we stand together? Because we don't know the truth, our thinking caps aren't on, and we do not confront and try and make a difference. And we rather keep quiet, and that I've covered before is because of the fear. Fact, I'm sorry I have to convey this news to you, but South Africa is going to be a copy-paste of Zimbabwe to come. And this brings then you to a situation where you need to make a decision. The decision is you will have to consider a plan. If you don't have a plan B, in times of serious anarchy, then you can have a problem. And I want to strongly promote that you join Suidland Verdediging, Southland Defense. As I've mentioned many times before, they have a national emergency plan, which will give you the best alternative for survival for your children and your children's children. You've seen what happened in the July 2021 riots. It's going to happen anytime. So why do we do this? We do this for our children and our children's children. This is not for ourselves. We do this for future generations, and hence these videos go out so that we can warn you, we can inform you, and to be ready. Kindly follow the links below to join. Again, please like, share on all possible available platforms, subscribe, and press the necessary notification buttons for new videos. Looking forward to talking to you again soon. Stay well, safe, keep sharp, tot ziens, and be safe.